Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is The Road to the Record, where I work to achieve mastery of 10 games in a hunt for the best score of the Decathlon. Like what you see, remember to hit that like button. You want to see more? Hit subscribe. Let the games begin. This is Pro Cycling Manager 2019. It's our Pro Cyclist, the Stage Racer. It's episode number 21. And you can see the team as a high-profile, high-prestige team here in Continental Pro Rankings has earned quite a few invitations here. So there are opportunities for me, albeit with a slightly higher level than what I have right now, in order to get into some of these races. So we have a chance to change our schedule. We'll take a brief look at that. It is the 1st of March, and we did level up with the experience points we picked. So we do have a skill point to use. There was no attribute increase on this level, just the skill point. Let's go ahead and use that. And now that we've topped off those first 3 categories, we actually have a chance to really start looking elsewhere and see what is available to us. Now, I know Discovery is coming at the end for me. That it is not something that I'm concerned about short term. And as our competition level gets higher and higher, we're going to be going up against the better World Tour riders, and we already know about those riders. So we have, well, what do we have? Charisma, more points available. That could be a thing, but I don't mind my calendar right now, and that's not going to matter for another season or 2. The network certainly could be a good one. To ensure we can get into the team we want to get into for next year. At the rate I'm going, attribute-wise, I would think I'm probably looking at moving on to a World Tour team next year. Whether it's a small or big team, I don't know. But it might be useful to double up my contacts of interest. I wouldn't really need any more than that. 1 level of that should be sufficient to get me into the team, especially if I'm having some success this year. A few times in the season, turn the tide reverse in expected negative race day condition. That could certainly be a good one, but I shouldn't have it happen very often anyway, the expected negative race day condition. But it certainly could happen, especially if the weather is really bad, right? It would give me 2 bonuses for the season with 1, and each level gives 2 more. Or we go into the actual race bonuses, and it's a mechanic that I'm intrigued by, but I'm not sure I'm ready to get into it just yet. When the time comes, the time comes. But for now, either willpower or network. We're a month off for starting on network, and that could be a good time right now to get that, because starting next month we'd have 2 contacts. So I suppose we'll do just 1 level of network. And then I think we're going to move on to willpower. Now, onto the calendar. I have 43 points available. It's not a lot, but there are World Tour races now coming up. And it's too late for this. We're into March. Okay, so looking into the beginning of April. Definitely not our style of race. Can't get into the Flandrian. That could be, but that's definitely not my style of race either. And not World Tour. Looks like we are already signed up for some of these. The Amstel Gold, Flèche Wallonne. So it looks like the team's already setting me up for some of these. Liège, Bastogne, Liège. I'm still 2 levels away from getting into that. That's really not my style of race anyway. Though certainly my punchy climber, cobbled climber character would love to get into that race. Tour de Suisse, we're already signed up. So I'm not seeing anything that requires a change in the calendar. So we still have a little bit of time before our next race. We are approaching our fitness peak. Still at our 2.25, so at this rate we should hit it in about 10 days time. I head to Spain for the third time in 4 races this season. This time to Catalonia, and also this time to my first appearance in a World Tour race. And it's a little bit of a doozy. I mean, this is a pretty hefty race. It's 7 stages, and you can see it's got it all. Stage 1, 161 kilometers in a decent amount of climbs, categorized as a hills stage. Stage 2, on the flat, but definitely not a flat finish. Stage 3, mountaintop finish, 170 kilometers. Very much suited to my rider, but with the lower resistance, it's going to be iffy. Stage 4, not a pure mountaintop finish, but very much 4 climbs all the way to and shorter, so it's going to be pretty intense. And it does technically end on a climb, even though it's only a 4.4% average gradient. Stage 5, hills stage, opening with some climbs and a bit of undulation through the middle sector onto the finish, where most of it should still result in a bunch sprint. Stage 6 is definitely a sprint stage, but it's not totally flat. And stage 7, a consistent group of climbs to the finish, and only 121 kilometers. So we've got some shorter stages, punchier or climbier stages for this tour. Should favor me, but at the same time, going up against the World Tour riders, the better World Tour riders, with my low resistance, could be a bit of a problem. We'll see, though, if I get team leader status, and with that help, how can we do? We'll see. One thing that'll help me on this is I have begun my fitness peak, and of course I'm set up now level 3 Grandmaster in that department, so it's a full 28 days. And even though it hit a while ago on the 11th, 14 days or so, 2 weeks early as expected, despite that, I've still got it for another couple weeks. So that'll get me all the way through the Tour of Catalonia. And do I have anything coming up on the calendar after? What's the next thing? Well, that's the end of the period. And then, maybe not. We might get a day or 2 here, but probably not. Looks like it'll end right as we get started. So it's going to be this one race. So at least for this period, this is the... See, we were set up for Paris-Nice. It started on the 11th, but we didn't get into Paris-Nice. So we would have had the double here, but instead we get a single. Into stage 1, and we're still pretty much at the beginning of the stage, but we are into an intense climb. We officially have just begun the climb, though we're already about 4 kilometers into it. The official climb, 18 kilometers, 5.3% average gradient for just about 1,300 meters of climbing. It's not the steepest, but it is an extremely long climb. Extremely long. So it's going on and on and on. And meanwhile, the field is definitely going to be punished for it. Now, I'm doing just fine. I'm riding comfortably at the front. The pace isn't too hot. There's only 4 riders in the break, and guess who's there? Thomas de Gent, of course, always in the breakaway. It's a fairly lengthy stage, so we're going to ride through and see how this goes. The objective is kind of the major point that we have. As you can see, the other riders with de Gent on the front. And we're going to begin with race strategy. So I have been given leadership status for the team, and I'm a leader outsider. The team objective is to get me into the top 20 of the overall general classification. And I would think top 20 is a definite possibility if I play my hand correctly. Stage objective, top 10. That's going to be a little harder because this isn't... it's not going to be a bunch sprint by anything. It's not full field. There will be plenty of riders dropped. I mean, this is a 20-kilometer climb. I would imagine we're going to drop some riders before the top of this, but we're down to 13K to the top already. And without much pace, you can see there isn't too much damage being done to the field. But you can see guys like Mora and Mesqueda, they're already taking on a little bit of damage, and as this climb goes on, that's only going to get worse. So some riders will certainly get dropped. And by the next climb, as the pace picks up, we'll be down to a smaller group, but 30, 40 riders maybe. This isn't going to drop the entire field down to just an elite group by any means. Well, anyway, that's the team objective. Now, let's see what we're up against. What's it going to take to get into the top 20? Well, Tom Dumoulin and Chris Hamilton are here. Sam Uman's here. Miguel Angel Lopez is here. Gorka Izagirre, Joey Roskopf, Enrique Mas, Dan Martin, Rowan Dennis, George Bennett, Nielsen Palace, Pierre Latour, Max Schachmann, David Formulo, Steven Kruiswijk, De La Cruz, Ciccone. Trek did not bring their strongest team, so that's one team that we could maybe beat. Gaudu, Reichenbach, Rue for sprints. Groupama FDJ, that's another one that didn't bring their best team. Gaudu, maybe. We're going to be on a similar level. CCC, Patrick Bevan, DeMarquis, Geschke. That's another team we might be able to compete with these guys. I'd say the entire top row of teams, that's at least 7 riders that are going to be ahead of me right there. Bjork Lambrecht looks like top guy that Lotto Soudal brought. Patrick Conrad maybe. So the late Bjork Lambrecht is about a similar level to what we are, so might be able to beat them as well. Pazzavivo, Fabio Fellini, Castro Viejo, Pogacar, Diego Rosa. So Ineos, maybe. That's still a strong, deep team. But the hardest climbs, I think I can knock those guys off. So this whole second row is the group that we should be in amongst. What about the third row? Because it's still World Tour teams. Jan Izagirre, Magnus Cort Nielsen, Frele. That's definitely not their strongest team. Impey, Lucas Hamilton, Gegenhardt will be a difficult one to beat. So Theo Gegenhardt has left Ineos for Team Dimension data for this season. Menkes, that's going to be one of the upper ones, so maybe an 8th guy. Sergio Henao could be a 9th one. So it looks like we have a small chance to get into the top 10, but definitely a good chance to get into the top 20. Katusha Alpsen, Dombrowski, Boswell. A couple Americans moving across to them. So we are up and over the climb. One rider was dropped was all. I expected a little bit more. You can see Mora not doing too well, but is recovering now. 5.5 minutes to that break. That means the pace is going to be a lot higher on the next one. And that's Norbert Banaszek. It's not the same Banaszek that I'm used to. Sorry about the lag. I usually don't have any programs running in the background. It's enough to run the game on high settings and then also run my high level recording software at the same time. And my rig's a little bit older now. It's time to start replacing some of the components and upgrading. So this is the kind of the first time where I'm beginning to see hints of lag here and there. Streaming's a whole nother level, and I stopped streaming partially because of that. A lot of games would get lag while trying to stream because that's again a whole nother can of worms. But normally I don't have any apps running in the back, but unfortunately right now I have a no choice app that I'm running, and sadly it's causing some lag because it is using up a bit of power itself. So again, apologize for that, but we'll push through, we'll get through, and then that'll be that. I think I'll kind of stop recording until I get a chance to. So next episode, no worries on that one. This episode, I apologize. So we're just about halfway through the stage now. Speeding things up just makes the lag a little bit worse. But with my fitness peak, I'm sitting on a very, very nice +4 race day condition, 99% fitness, looking fit, looking nice. My mountains, my hills ratings are very, very high right now. Sprint is still not good, but acceleration is certainly nice with a 76, and the stamina and resistance, which stamina is not going to be much of a factor for this race at all, as a lot of these stages are on the shorter end. But the resistance obviously is one to keep an eye out for. Today, it's a very healthy 74, meaning I will have absolutely no problem being in that final group. But of course, it looks like most everyone is going to have no problem being in that final group, as only 2 riders are off the back from the peloton.
We're already at the halfway stage.
We are in a little bit of a lull. I know it's going to make the lag worse, but let's go ahead and speed things up for a little bit here. Go ×4 instead of the usual ×5. But the breakaway group, for whatever reason, is losing a lot of time through here, and I didn't expect that. I figured they'd still be 4.5, 5 minutes ahead, but the lead is down under 3. Now they're turning it up a little bit, pulling back out somewhat while we're kind of taking it easy. But here come the climbs. Back-to-back Category 1s, essentially the same mountain. But we've got the shorter, steeper 2.5K, 8.8% gradient that we're about to hit.
Some teams can't be happy with the breakaway.
Let's go ahead and bring it in, see how this climb is. 7 riders off the back.
There's an attack in the group at the front.
Again, going for the points. He's looking for the Mountain Climbers jersey for this race, and I would not be surprised at all if he gets it because, well, if you know anything about the rider, he spends most every day in the breakaway as it is. See, the pace is picking up by 75, struggling to keep position a little bit here. It looks like there are some points left on offer, but I don't think it's worth it to really get after them for this race, as the likes of Decathlon is going to just accumulate a ton of points. Or at least I would imagine he will. Yeah, he's already got 38. So, at best, I would have picked up 4 or 5 points.
They obviously don't have anybody in the breakaway group. You see that? You can read the pain on the faces at the back of the
Well, the climbing's not done yet. We continue on. It falls flat for a little while, but then we're going to definitely continue upward here in just a little bit. But that's the last serious climb of the day, and that's why I'm not worried about it. I mean, we've now dropped some additional riders, but it is still very, very few. Still have a large peloton, 122. Mora looking like he'll probably get dropped. Amasqueta probably will be dropped. But that also depends on the pace a little bit. You can see I'm cruising at 80 right now, and that's not punishing me. Speed up a little bit as we go along here. 6.5K, 5.3 average. it's 1,100 meters, so
We shouldn't see too many attacks.
it's a fair bit of climbing, but it's still not steep. I mean, we're yellow profile throughout, so Mora has been dropped. Others are being dropped. It is happening, but it's only thinning us out so much. And this long descent afterwards, gradual descent, I'm sure that's going to
Whoa, there's an attack from inside the breakaway group.
recover almost every rider. So this 115 or
This is
so
the last third of the race. The team
isn't going to go down much.
on today's
You
goal.
can see I've got 3 guys that are right on the edge, and really the whole rest of the team besides me on the edge. So we're not quite done dropping riders, but we're nearly to the top as it is right now. Yeah, let's move myself up just a little bit for the points. There you go, 6 points for that. But again, Decant 54 already. Massive difference. Amasqueta gets dropped before the top. Everybody else hangs on. Easy Hill Stage 101, as in 101 riders in the peloton. The lesson, just chill out. There's no reason to attack. There's no reason to worry about a stage like this one. And I'm sure quite a few sprinters did survive, as a few more riders get back on. We're up to 105 now. Amber going to get water. Amasqueta has caught back on. He was among those 4 guys that regained contact. You can see just how tired he is. Oh, Vanderpool is here. So here's the thing about Vanderpool. Vanderpool is one of the elite classics riders, but Vanderpool is rarely in stage races. As for TV coverage in the US, we get mostly the bigger stage races. We don't get too many classics televised. And so Vanderpool is a name that I know and yet don't know. It's a rider that I'm still really only vaguely familiar with. So I know there's been conversations with some of you viewers in the past regarding who are the elite riders, and Vanderpool's name has come up, and I'm kind of like, okay. So amazingly, he's still not a household name for me. It's just sprint competition. Guys looking to pick up the last point. Oh yeah, we're down to 2 riders off the front, that's why. They were looking for the last point, which also involved 1 second, but you can see there's plenty of people interested in the sprint climbers jersey. Or sprint climber. Sprint points jersey. And this climb's not going to be enough, so there's really no point. It's sad that I've got this lovely +4, and it's essentially wasted on a stage that really doesn't matter. You see pace has picked up a lot, though, so this climb will do a little damage. Peloton's already back up to 119, and you can see there are some riders dropping off, so it is a little bit punishing, but only a little. I mean, Amasqueta even, see just how much recovery he's already been through. Again, I'm not worried about points here. I know I made that tiniest little acceleration last time just to pick up some points. And again here, I picked up 1 more point, 7. You never know. You never know, but not stressing about it. Okay, we're down to 14K. Definitely looking at bunch sprint, 116 riders. The last rider off the front is, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Decant, but it is. I've got team support now. Amasqueta has been dropped. Inside 10. Kind of downhill to the finish, but not completely, so we'll go a little early on the gel. Maybe a 6.3.
A fall just took place in the pack. Several riders are on the ground.
There we go. Use that. Set myself up with some sort of lead out. And Rodriguez is already in place. There's nobody else close. Well, Restrepo. Okay. So we will select these three. Do that. Do this. Do this. Do this. Do this. And bring it home, Restrepo. Give us a little lead out here.
Riders are entering the last 5 kilometers of the stage. And he spurts away from the group.
Dan Martin trying to go for a late break. .5 now. Rodriguez in tow. Hopefully I'm there. Gel has kicked in. 2.5. 1.9. Give me your little sprint. There you go. Okay, give me your sprint. There you go. And 1 full kilometer is not good. I'm going to run out of energy before the finish. And here come the actual sprinters past me. Ran out just before the end. That could be a top 10. Maybe. There might be a lot of riders on the left side there. 7th. Hey, alright. Well, there's a successful goal inside the top 10 for the stage, even though the hill stage was clearly not a hill stage, as we had a 94 group peloton to the finish. Very much a bunch of sprint of sorts anyway. Magnus Kort Nielsen takes a win. Impey 3rd. Gaudu 4th. Marc Soler up there in 8th. I didn't see his name earlier when I was looking through the list. Overlooked it. And then the contenders littering the top 20. Either way, that was a good stage, good start. Next up will be stage number 2. But like I said, the lag was probably not the most pleasant. And so I will cut this episode a little bit short of what I was expecting to do, just so I can get beyond this. So we are going to go ahead and stop a little bit early. Again, apologize about that. But that's why I always avoid doing it. This time I was just like, hey, I need to get some recording done. I need to get some work done. So did it anyway, and clearly it did not go quite according to plan. But again, we're still good start to the race. And we will continue on. Hey, there you go. First top 10 World Tour. 30 points. Take that. Nice little bonus. Exceptional evaluation for the moments. There's another 10 points. Satisfaction coming back up. We had quite the break. Almost a month in between our last race and this. We've got a little bit of recovery to do. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. And remember, I'm aiming for the best of the best. So if you're ready to join me on my journey, hit subscribe and tune in next time on my Road to the Record. Bye for now.